Welcome to Follow Your Joy podcast, where intuition is the doorway to your elevated creativity, more joy, and prosperity. I'm your host, Marla Diane, and I've been living an intuitive life for decades as a creative. That translates to transforming creative entrepreneurs' lives for over 27 years through two businesses as a business strategist and a life designer. And prior to that, an entertainment publicist and talent manager. Follow Your Joy is an entrepreneurial resource for creatives sharing their challenge to victory stories through the lens of listening to their intuition. It's time to make joy your inner GPS for life and business decisions rather than lean on your logic and reason first. You'll not only be following what is most authentic for you, but you will live the beautiful life meant just for you. Want to learn how to access, trust, or up-level your intuition? Join me in the conversation to find out how. Well, hello, creatives. How you doing today? So, if you are a woman creative between the ages of 40 and 70, how does this statement land with you? Demystifying the feminine body, unleashing the feminine spirit. How does that apply to your life? I could probably do a 10-minute dissertation on that right now, but I'm not going to do that. So I venture to say that this hits home with every woman out there on some level. It's a topic finally that is being educated to the mainstream, where it was almost taboo to talk about. Imagine that. My very special guest today, I am deeply excited about bringing her on and giving her expertise. Right? And how she can enlighten and educate you. Right? So Maraya Brown, creator of the Women's Vibrancy Code, it's a great name. She says in her own words, I've held the hands of thousands of women around the world, from Ghana to Haiti to Central America and all across North America, supporting them through all their seasons of change. Whether they're giving birth, embracing menopause, or growing a multi-million-dollar business, women have turned to me for support with their physical, emotional, and sexual health. So I met Maraya through my current mentor, Kathleen Cameron, in her home program, because Maraya is Kathleen's women's health expert, right, in that community. And her method to unlocking inhibition and inspire transformation comes from finding solutions to what modern Western medicine's, right, societal norms, right, that literally, and I love this expression right from her website, sucks the joy out of women. So ladies, see how this relates to you. You are struggling to wade through all the misinformation out there. You're being told that your health is just fine when we don't feel fine. You're saddened with the common signs of aging that may be common but aren't normal. You're taking on restrictive, kind of punishing diets. Maybe you're over-exercising or being, right, just kind of slow to move. You're criticizing your body and focusing too much on that scale. Feeling sluggish, uninspired, heavy. How about pining for a sex drive that's years or decades long gone? Oh my gosh. So why listen to her expertise? So Maraya is a mom, wife, founder, healthcare provider, podcaster. She's got a great podcast she'll mention. Retreat host and creator of courses and programs, including the Women's Vibrancy Code. And she specializes in helping ambitious women Especially founders, executives, and leaders reclaim their vitality through a holistic approach to health, hormones, and well-being. And her business was born from personal experience, which she'll share, and professional frustration. So, as a Yale trained nurse practitioner, she realized that traditional healthcare, right, often focuses on, yep, I talk about this all the time with my women, they basically treat the symptoms, not the cause, right? And that happens to be, in our case, fatigue, burnout, and hormonal imbalances, right? And the feeling of being stuck. So I am so ready to dive in, right? And I'll be taking copious notes. I hope you will be too. So welcome, Maraya Brown.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here
Mm,
and looking forward to our conversation.
yeah, very, very much. This is so, so important. Oh my gosh. So let's start with kind of share highlights of your journey. Like, what challenge happened to you that led you to this career in business?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to give a couple little tidbits. So first was my initial career was actually in marketing. My undergrad was in business. I was in Fortune 50 living in LA, and my best friend from high school asked me to be at her birth, and it changed my life. It was that big, you know how intuition, sometimes it's a whisper and sometimes it's like a hammer over the head, undeniable. It was one of those. And so there was a big transition of, wait a minute, who am I? Oh, I'm actually a midwife. And what does that look like? Which is a whole story.
Hmm.
And then I ended up going to Yale for my midwifery training. It was a 3-year program and finished there. And then I was running the women's health and federally funded clinics and private practices and heading up international health projects. And then I became a mom. And after I gave birth to my second child, I had my own health crash. Um, and up to that point, I was doing all the things, running a business, being the healthcare provider, being the midwife, being the wife, being the mom. And I suffered from perfectionism. And I was, for some reason, thought that as the healthcare provider in the community that people came to, I somehow couldn't show anyone that behind closed doors I was tired, which got worse. And I continued to push my own needs underneath the rug or sweep it under the rug, so to speak. And in my scenario, my thyroid and my adrenals crashed. And so then I picked up new modalities along my own journey of healing for myself. And I was introduced to functional medicine. I had always believed that food is our medicine, medicine is our food, but it just changed it. And so then that was, say, about a 4-year journey of my own healing. And then from there, there's a whole nother story of how I launched online. But all of those moments brought me to, oh, what I'm really meant to do is to support women really across all generations and to midwife them. Midwife them, I attended births for 17 years, but now I mainly work with women in that perimenopause and menopause range. Most of them are creative entrepreneurs, some CEOs, some ex corporate execs, but it's really like, how do I, as a midwife, hold them in their energetic journey, their hormones, their vitality, their confidence, their business endeavors, their ability to dream and dream bigger. And so I've led the way in my own version of it, and it's been an absolute pleasure every step of the way. Yeah.
Well, well expressed. I almost don't even have a response to that other than yes. I mean, obviously, it's always out of our, our own challenges that the breakthrough, I call it the gift and the challenge happens.
Hmm.
And I'm grateful that that happened to you because what you're able to then help women with, which
Yeah.
direly needed. Oh my gosh. It
Yeah.
is hot, hot topic, especially now, with what's going on in the country, and just the evolution of women, right?
Hmm.
It's happening. So thank you for dedicating, your time, your efforts, your heart, your passion.
Yeah, yeah, my pleasure. I want to add one more thing that I think is relevant and important.
Sure.
Um, I think the other thing that I've realized is how often women do it alone or do it in silence. Um, I had been attending births for 11 years before I became pregnant, and I ended up miscarrying at 13 weeks. And it was devastating. We were camping in Canada, and but the rug was pulled out from under me in such a big way. And I sent an email out to all of my community and family, and I was blown away by how many women responded telling me their own miscarriage story. And I realized most of us do it alone, whether it's grieving or abortions or miscarriage or menopause or whatever the chapter is, and to go, okay, there is so much space in women's healthcare. First of all, for us to realize we're not doing this alone. And second, to be given the empowerment of not just here's your solution, now you feel better, but really equipping women with the understanding of, oh, I understand why I was feeling this way and why the solution worked. Because now I'm giving you a fish. No, I'm teaching you to fish rather than giving you a fish. So I think that that's another piece to the journey is the those moments of devastation that we've all had where we just our breath was taken away. It felt like the rug was pulled out from under us, and we've probably all of us have our own of just feeling alone, feeling lost. And I think that women in particular need each other more than ever. And so it's also about that
Mhm.
for us to be on our own journey, but also the collective.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm.
You know, and I'm sure you've, heard this a lot in your retreats and coaching and so forth. I was, raised, I'm a baby boomer. Right. So I was raised in the 60s and 70s. Thank you, Mom, although she's passed, and bless you, Mom. But she didn't teach me a thing about this. She didn't know.
Hmm.
Right? Imagine what it was like in the 60s and 70s. Women, like I said, it was a taboo subject. They didn't know. So I had to go elsewhere to find out information. I'm still doing that.
Yep,
Still doing that.
totally.
And so the whole point about being alone and not sure, and women, need to be supporting each other. I mean, so many of us baby boomers have really felt alone because we were brought up in that era where it was not at all talked about,
Yep.
nor was it very well educated.
Yep. And
Right?
not only was it not talked about, but specifically in the menopause conversation, up until 2000, 90% of women were on HRT.
Yeah.
And it just was like, what happened? And so their experience of menopause was very different. And then there was a very large study, and it was halted, and overnight all women were taken off of HRT. And now, fast forward 25 years later, on average, 5% of women are on hormone replacement therapy. Now, that doesn't count bioidentical and the compounding. And I don't have an opinion one way or the other if women have to be on hormones or not. But I think that that's also a piece that is a historical aspect for those of us whose mothers were just on HRT or hormone replacement therapy through menopause. And now it's such a different ball game. And they're coming back around and, debunking a lot of the scare tactics that came out of why that study was shut down. And a lot more women advocating for themselves and saying, I do want to explore hormone replacement therapy or bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. But I'm curious if part of the reason it wasn't discussed
Mhm.
is all of our moms just were on HRT.
Mhm.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know, but it will be fascinating to see another 20 years down the road, another 40 years down the road,
for
to
sure.
see how the tides turn.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
When you say that it's a completely different ballgame now, what do you mean by that?
Well, so in in hormone replacement therapy specifically, that study was shut down because they were saying that it increased significantly a stat sig increase in stroke, um, and breast cancer. And now they've gone back and really kind of pulled apart the study. Average age was, they didn't start until age 65. They're looking at, well, what kind of estrogen was used? What kind of progesterone was used? And, but nonetheless, any current mainstream provider through med school was taught that hormone replacement therapy isn't safe. And so now, as there's more education coming out, going, okay, wait a minute, we've made some mistakes here.
Mhm.
And there are different ways to look at the results and the patient population that was in that study. And oh, whoops, it maybe doesn't increase chance of breast cancer. And oh, whoops, maybe it doesn't increase chance of stroke for women who are, average age of menopause is 51. So, um, it's just a regrouping, so to speak, a recalibration when we have to kind of regain a sense of, is this safe? And for those that go, I know it's safe and I still don't want to put bioidentical hormones or HRT in my body, fine. There's so many other possibilities when it comes to nutrition and supplementation for the sake of vitality, right? Because what I want to stop is the women coming to me tired, struggling with brain fog, not sleeping well, hot flashes, libido's gone, irritability is spiking, um, new weight gain that's unexplained, abdominal weight. I mean, uh, new rashes, allergies, itchy ears. I mean, all of these symptoms that are really associated with the hormonal changes,
Mhm.
um, to help them know that there are lots of solutions and to kind of let go of the fear that was present from 2000 really through 2020. I mean, we're just coming out of it, and I think there's providers kind of dipping their toes again, going, okay, wait, is this safe? Can we touch that again? Yes, it is.
So what are some of those, and I know people can, go to your website and we'll talk about that and some of your research
Yeah,
that you have, which are terrific. Give an example then of what are those other possibilities, those other modalities, other than
yeah,
the, bioidentical that you're
yeah.
talking about that helps with vitality.
Totally, totally. Oh my gosh, there's so much that we can talk
Oh,
about, especially for you when we're talking about intuition, we're talking about nervous system, we're talking about stress management tools, all of that.
mhm.
Everything in that category
Yep.
is such a strong yes to help our unconscious mind, our nervous system actually feel foundationally safe. Okay, so that we've got to start there.
Please.
Um,
Yeah.
There's some great tests on the marketplace that a lot of mainstream providers aren't ordering. For all of my clients, I would like to look at what's called a Dutch Plus and a GI map. So I can see a 24-hour cortisol curve, what's actually going on with the adrenals. I can see hormones like estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, but what does a woman's body do with them? How does she detoxify, so to speak? We can look at gut microbiome. So we've got a lot more vast and a lot more depth in the labs that can be drawn. And then from there to really give a personalized approach. So pick a symptom, pick any symptom that you think is most common in the women that listen in the, let's say, the perimenopause and menopause journey.
Well, you just said it. It's the stress, it's the deregulation.
Yeah,
I go through this myself all the time. I'm currently, looking for, I should say, I am doing different things to help me, get regulated because
yeah.
stress, it's so challenging.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So if we're going to just look at that, let's say, okay, you could say, I want to feel more regulated. So you go into mainstream provider, maybe they're going to say, here's some testosterone, right? Here's some thyroid hormone. And yes, maybe your body might really benefit from that. And Okay, what does it look like to regulate your body? I'm a big fan of gut microbiome testing. Let's look at what is going on with how your body is absorbing the nutrients
Mm,
that it's being given. Is there some leaky gut? Is it impacting how you're detoxifying? Is your gut microbiome impacting how your body is producing estrogen, so to speak? For the deregulation, I'm a huge fan of adaptogens. Everybody's now seeing all this mushroom coffee stuff popping up. I'm like, yeah, I've been shouting this from the mountaintops for 10 years.
yeah.
Adaptogens help the body better adapt to stress. And so things like dark chocolate and green tea and ashwagandha and reishi and chaga and shatavari, and maybe you've heard of some of those, lion's mane and cordyceps. There's a lot of them out there. And so that just goes in and helps the body go, oh, I'm okay.
Mhm.
And each one has its own nuance. So I like to kind of help women create a personalized cocktail, so to speak. And then I think the next thing that I'll say in specifically stress and deregulating is I host online events. They're free. It's called Pause. And one of the days is focused on really digging into what do we consume? How are we digesting, absorbing, assimilating, and detoxifying? And so to really look at that whole process, what am I choosing to consume, not just through my mouth, but also through my eyes and through my heart and through my skin, right? Is that being digested? Is it being absorbed and assimilated? Right? We can look at an apple. Is our body actually absorbing and assimilating the nutrients from that apple? Or is there a gut dysbiosis? Is our body not absorbing the nutrients? But also, we are exposed to an emotional trigger. And how are we absorbing that and assimilating it based on our traumatic background, based on all the life that we've lived, and then our detoxification? Are we actively allowing ourselves to let it go? Let go of the mindset, the thinking that doesn't serve us. Let go of the emotional piece that is no longer serving us. But also, are we pooping, peeing, and sweating? And what do our detox pathways look like? So all of that is going to help in this overall sense of vitality and going, ah, there I am. I feel regulated again. I guess that would be my answer there. And then obviously there, I mean, there's so many supplements, there's so many nutritional tweaks.
There's so much. Um, And as well, the meditation, the yoga, the walking, the exercise. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of levels going on here, right? That need to work together. I mean, like for example, I just found what works for me, at least now, with some of the stress. I take GABA and I take lemon balm.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh, the two of those together, literally in the last week. And I've tried a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I'm very health oriented. I always have been a kind of health nut. And like you, very holistic, in my approach to medicine and my body and so forth. And use, energy healings and so forth. But yes, the lemon balm, it's in tincture, so it's in drops,
Yep.
in water. And I take GABA a couple times a day. They're chewables. And it does the trick. It completely takes
Yep.
the edge off what typically has been a lot of anxiety. And I know
Yep.
it's hormone related. I used to be able to handle this stuff.
Yep. I, I love that you're bringing this up because I really want women to hear this. As our hormones change, particularly through perimenopause and menopause, the anxiety spikes are striking.
Wow.
And often women will go, oh my gosh, I don't recognize myself. What is going on? Is it the pandemic? And I really want you to hear if you're experiencing anxiety that you're not alone. It has a lot to do with hormones and this recalibrating time. Um, I see it as the caterpillar's gone into the chrysalis and we've turned to goo. It's uncomfortable. And now we add on those lovely, juicy hormones that are going down. So we're not sleeping as well and we feel more anxious and we don't recognize ourselves Yeah, I mean, I have so much to say on that. And lemon balm, lovely for calming. Also, passion flower is another one I kind of put in that same category. And then GABA and L-theanine. Oh my gosh, in the there is an expert out of South Africa. Her name is Trudy Scott. She does the anxiety food solution.
Mhm.
Her protocol with GABA, I really appreciate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called
And
anxiety.
it's called the Anxiety Food Solution. Her name is Trudy Scott.
Okay.
Actually, I want to bring her on my podcast. That's a
Yeah.
reminder.
Sounds like it'd be a good, a good one. I just wrote her
Yeah.
name down to take a look.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think you might enjoy it. And the anxiety thing, there's so many solutions. Like I can't tell you how many women that I've supported just with anxiety and progesterone and estrogen being a big part there. Um, you asked about options other than prescription progesterone or prescription estrogen. For progesterone, wild yam cream and chaste tree berry or Vitex are lovely.
Mhm.
And for estrogen, I love phytoestrogen rich foods, primrose oil, ground flax, all of those can be supportive. Um, there's so much that you can do. And the last piece to this is um, statistically speaking, the highest age range of women committing suicide is actually during menopause.
Mm,
So
really?
when we talk about anxiety, it is real. And this conversation of women doing it alone and not raising our hands and not speaking up through menopause, it is such a recalibrating time. And the anxiety and the depression can be so real.
No.
It is the time more than ever that we've got to band together and allow ourselves to receive support.
It
And there's so much growing support out there. Yeah.
really is. It really is.
Hmm.
So share, let's turn this side to, and let's go on the other side of the coin about joy, hence follow your joy. Uh,
Yeah.
so what brings you then the most joy in what you do in your business?
Oh, man.
Lots, I'm sure.
So much, so
Yeah.
much. Um, of course, I love facilitating group calls and bringing women together, and that moment when they realize that they're not the only ones. The transformation of health, the moments where women really surrender and trust. There's always that moment where a woman says, "I've never said this out loud before, but," I go, "Oh, okay, now we're getting there." Um, and the transformation that's on the other side. It's like all the things that we didn't even know we didn't know. And, whether women come into a 3 month program or a year-long program or come to one of the women's retreats, that moment on the other side where they go, oh my gosh, that changed the trajectory of the rest of my life. Like we can go buy a great vacation for the family or a new purse or treat ourselves to nice things, but to really do deep health and interpersonal transformation, man, that's something a woman takes with her forever. And the ripple effect in her life and the people that she touches. And, we got to know each other through Kathleen Cameron. For me to be able to have the opportunity to support Kathleen, in that 2023 when she was saying, my health is my priority, longevity is what I focus on. And the pride to be able to support her along that journey as her health coach and to know the ripple effect of then every individual that she touches and every individual that they touch. It sparks joy in me in such a big way.
Well, that's
Yeah.
why we're here. I met you through her community.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, let's keep paying it forward.
Right. Right. So of course it's physical health.
Yeah.
Of course I want women to have great energy and great sleep and a rockin' libido and brain clarity and mood stability and all of that. Feel confident when they look in the mirror.
Mhm.
But it's as a midwife, it's when the lights turn on in their life and everything looks brighter and feels brighter and what that does for their hope for the future and the broader impact.
So, so important.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we could talk for another hour on this. My God,
Yeah.
it's so in the center of our lives. It's on the center of my life. Every day I get up, I'll go, "Oh, okay, where's the GABA? Where's the lemon balm?" It's like it never used to be that way. I used to always be happy, always be up, always have vibrancy. And now it's
Mhm.
like just enough to get there. Right.
Yeah. In your scenario, I would make sure that your provider has ordered a full thyroid panel. Often they're only looking at your TSH.
Yeah.
Make sure they've also looked at T4, T3, and your thyroid antibodies. And then also your vitamin D level. Make sure it's between 60 and 80.
Okay.
And that TSH, we want it between 1 and 2. Often labs will say, oh, 0.45 to 4.5 is normal. So your provider's like, your thyroid's fine. And then I look at it, I go, no, that's not fine. That's crap. We don't want suboptimal, we want peak.
Okay, I
Yeah.
had my, panel done just back in December, I think. So I'll go take a look at what those ratings were and I read them as they
Yep.
come through. And I literally, spent time researching, okay, what's normal? What does this mean? Let me go
Hmm.
back to it. I'll take
Yeah.
a look at it. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
So, obviously this is, intuition is a big deal, not only in my world, but obviously in yours. And I know that you live and you work right by that, through
Hmm.
intuition. So what does that look like for you as you are in your daily work and with women?
Yeah.
Yeah. How does that play into this?
I mean, it's
Mm,
such a big part of my life.
mhm,
Um, I grew up in a pretty alternative upbringing. My dad was Jewish, stepmom was Christian, mom was Buddhist. They were also involved in Rajneesh, and we spent time on the Osho commune in Eastern Oregon as a kid. And um, I've had guides that spoke to me since I was 6. And at that age, it was just scary. I remember covering my ears and crying and saying, Mom, it's the voices.
oh,
And then I learned to, I think they were all talking at once and they weren't speaking in English. And that was scary for a 6-year-old.
mhm,
So, my relationship with the idea of intuition has been there since I was really young. And, um, and I think I've been given lots of opportunities to get confirmation when I listen
mhm,
to the whisper, to the bonk, to the inside, and also confirmation in the moments when I didn't listen and
mhm,
I was going too fast and didn't set aside the time to actually quiet and listen inside. And so I'm a visionary. I think all of us as visionaries, we have that internal voice, that internal intuition that leads us. Sometimes it's in a dream, sometimes it's from my guide, sometimes it's just a moment and a breath and a quieting inside. But just to make sure that when it comes, that I honor it.
mhm.
Um, and I mean, I could give so many examples. My intuition is there every day,
It's,
all the time.
well, it's really part of, if you will, the DNA of what you do. You
Hmm.
have to, right?
Yeah,
Just,
right.
just
I mean, even in birth as a midwife,
mm,
there's the mom,
mm,
there's the baby, there's the energy of all the other individuals coming and going from the birth space. And then there's also that broader power of God, universe, whatever you want to say, that um, as the midwife, I really saw myself as the holder of the space, the holder of the container. And my role is to make sure mom and baby are safe. And so there has to be a listening inside. It's not just the fetal heart tones and her blood pressure and her how dilated her cervix is. There is a bigger energy at play. We're bringing life into this world from a whole nother realm.
mm,
Yeah. And so now I haven't attended a birth since 2017 and I miss it, but
mm.
I still feel like I show up as a midwife every day.
You do,
Hmm.
just a different form.
Just a different form. Yeah.
Form. Yeah. Well, okay, let's wrap this up.
Sure.
Before we go, what I'd like for you to share is, one is where can people get in touch with you, and let's talk about your special, offer your resources, which I love. I think they're really helpful, and they have a lot to do with what we kind of talked about today. So share about that. And of course, the link will be in the show notes for all
Yeah,
women listeners to download. And please download it, ladies. Oh my gosh, please. So go ahead.
totally.
Tell us.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So as long as you can spell my name, you can find me. So it's all A's, Maraya. So marayabrown.com, Maraya Brown in all the socials, Maraya Brown on YouTube. My podcast is the Women's Vibrancy Code podcast. That will be in the show notes, I'm sure. We're doing a podcast swap, so we'll make sure to share each other's. You'll have to listen to both episodes. And then the resources, there's a number of on that site, there's a number of free resources depending on what you're looking for, right? So, how to make and apply face masks and my adaptogen elixirs and the food facial and the brain fog and energy, sleep, and vitality. So, what I'll say is, I already mentioned adaptogens. Maybe start there. Download those adaptogen elixir recipes. It doesn't have to be some like science where you have to follow it to a T. I want it to taste good. It should be a luxurious, enjoyable experience to kind of replace your latte. Once you find that adaptogen elixir that you really enjoy, drink it all day long. I have one right here. This is probably my fourth today. And just make sure the components you have the adaptogen, you have the protein source, the fat source, and then the rest you're making yummy. The brain fog solutions, that's lovely because it's a handout that me and my team dietitian made. And there's also an hour-long call that we kind of teach you how to use the handout and get into the specifics. And then the same with the energy, sleep, and vitality. That's really for women who live fast-paced lives. Maybe you travel a lot. There's a whole page on immune health. And so, same thing, a lovely download PDF that you can keep. And then there's that hour-long call that my team did. Her name's Katie, that Katie and I recorded going over it. So when you download, you get both. And you're welcome to grab all of them, like be in full receivership and enjoy.
That's terrific. I mean, that's
Yeah.
everybody, it's again in the show notes. It's essentially a resource page with all the downloads.
Yep.
You get to pick and choose what you want. And there's six. There's six plus I think a seventh, which is one of your featured ones. So
Mhm.
yes, thank you for that.
Yeah, sure. And then the last thing I would say is if you're really enjoying this interaction and you feel like you'd like to learn more, I host an event called Pause, which is really that it's over 4 days. I'm live 1 hour a day, and we're really going to dig into allowing the space and the pause, but to look at the three main areas being hormones, thyroid, and adrenals, and how they impact us during this perimenopause and menopause chapter, and how the last thing I want is for women to simply feel fine. I see it as a four-letter word. And what could it look like instead to feel totally spectacular and lit up? And then we'll also dig into that whole concept of what we consume and detoxify is who we become, and to help support you along the journey of really doing a better job at detoxifying. So anyway, you're welcome to everybody who registers for Pause, you get a free workbook. There's concierge support. You'll have access to the instant replays. So don't worry about, if you can't make it. I mean, obviously, if you can be on live, it's so much more juicy because we can actually interact. But if you can't make it live for part of it, don't worry. You'll have access to the instant replay.
Okay, and that'll be I know that you're looking at some of the dates for April. So I'll make sure that I have that info in the show notes.
Great,
Yeah, because I
great.
know that you
Yep.
offered it in March and you do it, I
Mhm.
think you said every 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, I did one in September and December and January and March. I mean, usually every couple months. So just if as long as you have it's marayabrown.com/pause,
Yeah.
you'll see when the next one is happening. And each one is a little bit different. I usually bring in new content. The last one was actually 7 days.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah,
Okay, terrific.
yeah. Hmm.
Well, all right. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for this. It's just, I don't know. It's almost like lack of words to describe the depth, the importance, how we as a collective consciousness, affect one another. And, Mariah, just you being a thought leader in this space for a lot of us that are doing this alone, it's time that we all gather together,
Mhm.
in, if you will, pods, in pauses, programs like yours, or, master classes, etc. So yeah, thank you for being there for us.
Yeah, my pleasure. And thank you. I mean, you've been doing this a long time before any of us were in the quote unquote coaching world. Um, to be kind of forging the path, out there with your machete.
2008 was a long time ago when I started.
Yeah, paving the way for all of us to follow. So thank you to you.
Oh, yeah, of course, it's my
Hmm.
calling, just like yours. All right, everybody. So you heard it from her. Take charge of your body, take charge of your well-being, your vitality. And I will be seeing you on the next episode. Be well and be blessed. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Hey,
Bye.
thanks for listening. You can find more entrepreneurial stories and resources at marladiane.com. And while you're there, enjoy my free downloads to up-level your business and your life. And Instagram. It's my favorite place to hang out. Let's connect there. If you received inspiration from the episode, I'd sure appreciate a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. Until next episode, take care.